When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With TwinSpires, you can place your bets with confidence, whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with TwinSpires. And now you can race to victory with TwinSpires tournaments.
Welcome back to the TwinSpires jury. We've got a little intro now. A little old school. We used to do this in our previous shows a long time ago. And I'm Ashley Anderson here with James Scully and Darin Zoccali to talk our best bets and fades of the week at the Claiming Crown at Churchill Downs on Saturday, plus a little Aqueduct racing as well. And James, I'll start with you talking Churchill Downs. What's your best bet at the Claiming Crown on Saturday?
Yes, my best bet is going to be number 11 Penn Street. In the 7th race, the Claiming Crown Glass Slipper. And basically, this is a 1 mile event for fillies and mares. And I really think that Penn Street has progressed nicely in a trio start since being claimed by Chris Hartman in late August. And I really believe that she's found her niche in these 1 mile trip races, be it 1 turn mile distance, like we'll see her effort here at Churchill Downs in late September, where she runs a no second, or even in the three quarter, the mile trips at Ellis Park where they start on the turn. She's run 2 good races at the mile distance in her recent starts. And this is a race where I think, unlike a lot of these Claiming Crown events, where I think more than half of them have formidable favorites signed on, I thought the favorites in this spot were vulnerable, the top choices on the morning line. And I just think Penn Street is going to get the right setup and is really starting to come on for Chris Hardman. So I'm going to look for number 11 Penn Street to prove best from off the pace in the glass slipper at Churchill Downs.
Yeah, and for people that don't know, the Claiming Crown is North America's celebration of blue-collar horses. A lot of these horses have been running for a very long time. And I was looking at the card, it was kind of hard to find a horse to stand against, but pace scenario I think will be very big on Saturday at Churchill Downs. But let's move over to Aqueduct. So Darin, tell me about your best bet.
Yeah, I had an easier time finding a horse to play against on that Churchill card than a horse to back as my best bet. So I did land in my backyard in the Central Park Stakes, which is race 9 for 2-year-olds going a mile over the inner turf course. I'm a big fan of Jack and Jim. I was really impressed with his debut back on September the 22nd, where he got off to a pretty slow beginning that day, got bumped coming out of the starting gate, was able to show good composure and professionalism, making just his first lifetime start for Graham Motion, where he is going to just run on willingly here. He's actually on the wrong lead here for the first half of the stretch. He's kind of showing some greenness here, ducking in, ducking out a little bit, but he's still going to get up in the final strides and get up over Leon Blue, who was a decisive favorite that day. I think this is a horse that really hasn't put it all together yet mentally, despite the fact that he overcame a lot during that trip in order to get the money. And just think this is a son of slumber that's probably pretty high on talent. Obviously, the horse is extremely well bred for turf through the top line of the pedigree and the bottom line of the pedigree. Graham Motion is 21% with a plus ROI, running horses in non-graded stakes races as well. So there's just a lot to like here. Early adopter is going to be the favorite after the 3rd place finish in the Grade 2 Pilgrim, where he ran on evenly after running into a little bit of traffic trouble at the top of the stretch. But Zulu Kingdom and Noble Confessor, who ran 1-2 that day, came out of the race to run okay in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. They ran 6th and 7th that day. So I don't know how good of a race the Pilgrim was. So I'm going to go with the New York bred that I think is high on upside in Jack and Jim in the Central Park.
Yeah, he had a great debut. He had a 116 class rating. That's, I think, tied for the best class rating of any of these runners last out. So definitely looks like a lot of potential there. And I will take it back to the Claiming Crown, and I am going with the Claiming Crown Jewel in race 10 on Saturday at 1 1/8 on the dirt. And I'm going with number 2, General Mathis at 12-1. I went with a 12-1 last week. It did hit, but it was 3-1 at post time, so that is not exciting. And then this time around, I think I might get a better price, something closer to 12-1. So this is a 7-year-old gelding, one last out at today's distance over a sloppy track, 2 for 2 at 1 1/8. The other time he raced at that distance, it was in Santa Anita. It was supposed to be on the turf. It was taken off. So those are his 2 starts at the distance. He's making his first start off the claim for Larry Rivelli, a 32% winner first off the claim. He's also a 34% winner with a positive ROI off layoffs of 46 to 90 days. Gerardo Corrales is regaining the mount. They have a positive ROI paired up together the last 2 months. And I'm looking at pace scenario. Not a lot of speed signed on. That's why I think Money Supply is vulnerable as a late closer. I know Darin's going to talk about that more. And I think General Mathis will have a good shot sitting right off the pace. So I'm going to back him at a big price. I did this handicapping before morning line, so I was excited when I saw that this was 12-1. Hopefully I get something around that at post time.
Yeah, and he won that race on a sloppy track, but I liked how he finished up, and his 2 previous starts on fast main tracks, and I think we'll have a fast track Saturday, were a runner-up effort and a convincing win. So can handle both fast, can handle a fast main track as well.
You know, when the Claiming Crown was created, I don't know if this was the type of field that they envisioned getting in one of these races. You have half the field that is coming out of stakes races, a couple of others that are coming out of second level and third level allowance races. So we could label this a Claiming Crown jewel, but this is a probably a stake race without a name.
Yeah. And let's talk about Money Supply, a horse that's close to my heart, but I don't think this is the race for him. So Darin, I don't think you do either.
Yeah, he was the horse to fade for me. I mean, obviously the last 3 starts are all on turf, but he was probably just ambitiously spotted in a $500,000 handicap at Kentucky Downs. Whenever a horse runs poorly on Kentucky Downs, I'm certainly willing to overlook it. 2 starts back, he was completely overmatched by Carl Spackler and the Breeders' Cup Mile winner More Than Looks in the 4-star Dave. You have to go back to February to get his most recent dirt victory, which was in the Grade 3 Mine Shaft. So this horse went into the Mine Shaft in the New Orleans Classic on quite a roll. He's not the same horse right now, at least from a form perspective. And I almost wonder what made them go to the grass with this horse. He had been doing so well on dirt. I guess because of that, the fact that he got upended in the Grade 2 Ali Sheba, they decided to make a bit of a switch and try the turf. And then he won a minor stake event at Horseshoe Indy, followed by a couple of dull tries. He goes back to the dirt, which I freely admit is going to be his preferred surface, but he catches a few horses in here that are in pretty good form. He catches a horse dropping down with speed here in Laughing Boy, who could be dangerous. Surface to Air is coming off of a very impressive victory over a strong allowance field last time out at Keeneland as well. Bourbon Day is coming off of a 7-length romp in an off-the-turf event at Belmont and Aqueduct. Hurry's coming off of an allowance win at Churchill Downs. So I just think this is a pretty salty group that he's caught here, and the price is not going to reflect what I think are his actual chances of winning. I think he's going to be an underlay in this spot.
And honestly,
go ahead. No, you go first, Ashley.
I was going to say, his recent wins, most of them have come on an off track. So for getting a fast track, I do wonder, does he prefer a sloppy track? And, that also has me wondering, is this just not the right race for him? I don't like the price at 2-1, but, I had him in that mine shaft at Fairgrounds on a sloppy track. It seemed like that was kind of more his preference.
Not only that, but he was 4-1 against First Mission and Ali Sheba because that track was sloppy. When I saw he was entered in here, the first thing I did was look at the weather forecast because I was keenly aware last year of how he was just thriving. I mean, he won 3 straight, including that mine shaft over sloppy tracks. In fact, his last 4 wins have either come on wet main tracks or wet turf courses. I mean, Money Supply is a precipitation lover, but if it's fast on Saturday, I'm worried about his current form as well off of those last 2 efforts.
A precipitation lover. James, tell me about your fade.
My fade is going to come. It's number 5, Final Verdict, who's the 2-1 morning line favorite in the 8th race at Churchill Saturday, the Canterbury Tom Metzen Memorial Claiming Crown event. And I will say this about Final Verdict. Since joining Ned Barker's barn 5 starts ago this summer, he has been exceptionally well managed and well spotted. Final Verdict, he won a pair of races this summer at Saratoga. And let me just say, in one of those races, the big favorite was Java Buzz, who's 20-1 in a optional claiming event at Aqueduct. I mean, that was one of the weakest favorites in a turf race the entire Saratoga meet. I thought, at least that was an optional claimer. So I think he's been well spotted, and I just think he's stepping up to face tougher here at short odds. Could prove vulnerable. I look at a horse like Midday Image. I mean, here's a horse that was knocking heads against Super Quest and Gene Valagine at Saratoga this summer and at Laurel this summer. That's a state. Those are stakes quality rivals. I think Midday Image and others are coming out of much tougher races than Final Verdict. So at short odds, I'm going to be willing to take him on in the Tom Metzen Memorial Claiming Crown events Saturday.
Yeah, Midday Image was a horse that I gave a long look to possibly as my best bet, but it was hard to call it a best bet because the race is so competitive. But this is a horse that was entered in an allowance race last time out. That was really a stake race without a name. Determined Kingdom was entered in the was looking to get into the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, but didn't get into the field, so ran there instead. So yeah, I totally agree. I think their speed signed on. I like Midday Image quite a bit in here, and I think you can make an argument here, not just the favorite that you are fading in the spot in Final Verdict, but the horse that he beat 3 starts back is the 3-1 second choice in Hilarious Affair. So, and they're both in this field. So I think there's an opportunity potentially to fade a couple of favorites here and maybe really open things up in terms of the vertical exotics.
I agree.
I'm fading a Mike Maker in race 11. It's Segoy. And this is at a mile and 16th on the turf. So this is a horse that we saw win the Grade 3 Louisville first off the claim for Mike Maker. And that day he was going up against Bold Act, a heavily favored Charlie Appleby runner, but there was no pace in that race. Segoy was able to get away with very slow fractions, went gate to wire at a mile and a half. He hasn't gone back to the winner's circle in his last 3 starts since then. And I'm looking at the pace set up here. I see a whole lot of speed compared to the other race I was talking about. And Segoy seems like he's a need the lead type. I don't think he's going to have an easy lead at all in this race. And I'm looking for someone off the pace. You know, Busy Channel sometimes does go to the early lead, and that's a long shot that could potentially push for the early lead. We've got Journeyman as well, Devil's Harvest. They seem to like the early lead. So I don't know exactly who I'm going to back, but I just know that I don't feel good about Segoy right here, especially at 2-1.
Yeah, there's another race that I liked a little bit. I'll give a little bit of a shout out to Tidal Forces, who's run into some tough company over at Belmont at Aqueduct in Saratoga. The race 4 starts back at Saratoga. If he runs back to that race, he can absolutely win. You just got to avoid being a little bit too far back. But in his second start back, after trying to shorten up to 6 furlongs, 2 starts back, last time out he was completely compromised by an extremely slow pace over the Belmont at Aqueduct course. And he's kept some extremely strong company over the last year. I thought he was interesting at a price as well in a field that I thought was Kentucky Ghost is in this race at 20-1. And a couple of years ago, he was running in Grade 2 turf races at Keeneland and Kentucky Downs. So this is a very compelling and competitive event.
Yeah, and Busy Channel won the Arlington Stakes when he won. So
Yep.
A couple of graded stakes winners in this field, but just been a little bit since they've won a graded stakes. And then let's see, before we move on, because I know, James, you're going to talk about some Mike Maker runners at Churchill on Saturday, but we have to talk about our promos first. So Darin, tell me about that.
Yeah, as we run through the Churchill Downs meet, we have that pick 3, hit it and split it every day. You have to hit 3 pick 3s, any 3 pick 3s on the card, and you're going to share in $3,000. So it's just an opportunity to take one of the more popular wagers, a wager that occurs in each and every race, and give you an opportunity to increase your bankroll and increase your profit on top of what you win. So be sure to opt in if you're a pick 3 player. Churchill Downs in that hit it and split it. We also obviously have the tournaments ongoing, and right now we're in the middle of our feeder tournaments for the NHC KDBC qualifier at Churchill Downs on November the 23rd. This is going to be our 3rd qualifier for the Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge, and we're also guaranteeing 2 NHC seats. So it is an NHC points eligible tournament as well. We have a $250 feeder contest coming up at Churchill Downs this weekend. And again, we have feeder contests at Churchill Downs and other racetracks all leading up to the big one on the 23rd of November. And then be sure to go to the promo page, because we have select tournaments that we are giving you a great offer of 25% of your bankroll back if you are opted into this promo. So if you click on the promo, 25% bankroll back, select opportunities in November, you opt in and you wager your full bankroll in the tournament that is highlighted, you will get back 25%. So it's essentially a 25% rebate on your bankroll if you do wager on your entire bankroll in the tournament. You don't see that come up too often. I think it helps us stand out in the tournament industry. So be sure to go to that bankroll back. There it is, the November bankroll cashback tournament. Be sure to check out which tournaments are eligible, opt in and play. You might win a seat, and you're going to get some money back as well, Ashley.
Sounds good. And speaking of Churchill Downs, James, let's bring it back to the Claiming Crown and tell me about Mike Maker.
Yeah, this will be the 26th Claiming Crown. It started in 1999, and Churchill Downs will be hosting it for the second time. It was held under the TwinSpires back in 2022, back for the second time this year. I mean, I think that definitely has the potential, the 2024 event, to have the largest handle in the history of the event. You had 119 horses entered. There's 20 in the 8 Claiming Crown races. There's 24 also eligibles, and 16 horses were excluded. I mean, couldn't even get in the AE list. So overwhelming popularity, horses shipping in for 20 venues. And I want to mention Mike Maker. Mike Maker leads all trainers with 22 Claiming Crown wins. He won the Tiara last year when the event was held at Fairgrounds, and he's back again this year with another strong hand. He has 8 horses entered in the 8 events, including number 5 Dana's Beauty, who's the 4-5 morning line favorite in the Tiara. You got Segoy, like Ashley mentioned, perhaps a vulnerable favorite in the Emerald, but definitely a horse that 2-1 on the morning line is a contender in there. Number 2, Honest Spree, is 3-1 on the morning line in the Kent Sterling Memorial, and number 10, Hilarious Affair, is 3-1 on the morning line in the Tom Metzen Canterbury Memorial. So he's got 4 runners at 3-1 or lower. So look for Mike Maker to be well represented on Saturday, once again in the Claiming Crown.
Darin, what about you? What are you watching for?
Yeah, I'm going to take it overseas, international. They have a Group 1 event in Japan. It is the Mile Championship at Kyoto Racecourse, and it really has drawn a field of just incredible talent, and we'll save the best for last. But there's several runners in here that some of the Japanese best milers. Breed Weg is coming into this event off of a Group 2 win, off of a near-year layoff. This was the winner of the Group 1 Queen Elizabeth II Cup in Kyoto in 2023 as a 3-year-old filly. She's back at age 4. You have June Blossom, who's coming in off of a Group 2 event, a Group 2 win, I should say. You have a couple of other runners in here that have been really sharp. Sixpence, who's 4 for 5, the 3-year-old colt. This one is coming in off of a Group 2 win in the Manchio Khan, and was third in the, was a winner of the Fuji TV show Spring Stakes, a Group 2 event back in March. Soul Rush, who's been a hard knocker, a Group 1 type in Japan. You have Win Marvel, who's won Group 2 events. But the real headliner is Charin. Charin is a 4-year-old colt that comes over from Europe, who's riding, not a win streak, but last 5 starts, this horse is Group 1 winner or Group 1 placed. Second in the Group 1 Prix de Milan de Longchamp, second in the Lock-In Stakes, winner of the Group 1 Prix Jacques Lamoureux, winner of the Queen Anne Stakes at the obviously prestigious Royal Ascot meet, and winner of the Group 1 QE2 at Ascot last month. So he shows up in Japan looking as good as ever, as you could see, ready to take on some of the Japanese faithful. So it's a really intriguing event. And Charin is getting set to head off to stallion duty next year. So I don't know if he's going to go in the Hong Kong Mile out of this, or if this is going to be the final race of his career. But definitely one worth watching if you have the time.
Yeah, I'm excited. That's like you said, Darin, that's a great race. And glad you nailed all those pronunciations. I would have been interested to see Ashley or myself do it.
Darin's always got
It's the
it.
track announcer in me. You
Yeah.
have to get it right if you can.
And I will bring it back to Churchill. And I will say real quick, if you're watching Churchill racing today at 3:55, Dallas Stewart has another starter in race 7 going for 1,000 career wins. And I'm going to talk about Bentley Combs, a former assistant of Dallas Stewart, who I talked to this week at the Churchill Downs Training Center. Bentley was previously a solo trainer, and then the last season, well, actually around March, he went over to work with Chad Brown as an assistant. He's now returning as a solo trainer. Friday, he has a starter in City of Clouds, a city of like Gelding. So I talked to him earlier this week, and we have a little clip of the interview. You can see the full interview at our social channels at TwinSpires on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. But let's roll the footage. So Bentley, you were a solo trainer in the past and made the decision to work for Chad Brown as an assistant this past year. So what went into that decision?
At the time, just really the opportunity to learn from Chad. I mean, he's a 4-time Eclipse Award-winning trainer and probably going to be in the lead for the Eclipse Award this year. So it's not a bad one to learn from, you know?
What was maybe the biggest lesson you learned from him?
I would go ahead and say probably, not wanting to sound weird about it, but less is more kind of deal. You know, if you notice some of Chad's works and stuff like that, don't really work very fast. You know, they're very specific. Everybody's very uniform, but horses get very fit quickly.
And let's talk about your starter on Friday, City of Clouds, who's behind us. First off, how has he been working?
He's been training well. Obviously had a very good work with that bullet that he fired. Was not expecting that. Didn't really want that going into a claiming race. I don't know if I can say that on camera. But, you know, no, he's training very forwardly.
All right, there we have it. And Bentley actually previously, he had the record with 3 consecutive wins in the Oaklawn's Trails End, which is traditionally the final race of their the Oaklawn meeting. And he had a 40% win percentage in 2023 at Oaklawn. So he's done pretty well as a solo trainer. Excited to see what he does coming back. And yeah, I think that's really all I have.
He mentioned Chad Brown winning 4 Eclipse Awards and maybe 5. He could have just said it's great experience to work for a future Hall of Famer. You know, that's where Chad Brown's going to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Darin, any final closing words?
No, I just the card on Saturday is great. If you have an opportunity to take part in the tournament, the $250 NHC KDBC feeder contest, it's a great card to participate in. You know, we're early in the season, heading towards the Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge, but you know, that's only going to become more and more popular. So now is a really good time to try to get in before the curve. Maybe a little bit of a lull after the Breeders' Cup and the BCBC, and kind of before NHC. Because once we get to March and April, those seats are going to be at a premium. So now is a good opportunity to try to get involved and win your way into what's going to be a phenomenal contest. But it's a great card. Happy to have such an important tournament on it.
And I'll say real quickly, TwinSpires is going to be live on site at Churchill on Saturday for Claiming Crown coverage. So check that out at our social channels as well. And we'll be back next Thursday with more best bets and fades. We'll see you then.
When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With TwinSpires, you can place your bets with confidence, whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with TwinSpires. And now you can race to victory with TwinSpires tournaments.